Alright, so I have to make this video because I can't stand it any longer. I've been on Twitter fucking firing off a storm. What has happened in this country? As one senator put it, this country was founded by geniuses, but it's currently run by idiots. So, the coronavirus hits. Everyone's taking it seriously. Of course, with everyone, having to stay home, businesses, closing, of course, the economy is crashing. Back in February, the economy, specifically the Dow Jones showing, the stock market, had been at a high of 29,551 points. Currently, if you go online, Dow Jones is currently at 18,368. And it's just fallen. It's fallen and fallen and fallen. Now, if we go here, 29,551 divided by 2. That's 14,775 points. If that happens, the Great Recession will have been repeated. Because in the Great Recession, the economy went from a high of about 14,000 points down to just a little under 7,000, 6,600 if I recall correctly. That is currently happening before our eyes. Wall Street, big businesses, the main source of income for this country, is dying. And it's dying fast. And yet, here come Senate Republicans with this giant stimulus bill that started out at, I think, 850 billion, and is now the balloon to $2 trillion. That helps out these large corporations that employ hundreds of thousands of people. Millions of Americans are losing their jobs. Millions more are going on in unemployment. So, the Senate Republicans introduced this bill, and they start working on it. The majority of Senate leadership is not, Democratic leadership is not there. Because the House is on a week-long recess. And so they get to work. They start hammering it out. Senate Democrats rightly say, all of this is all Republican stuff. So we say, all right, let's get to work. Start changing things. Republicans get some things. Democrats get others. Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader in the Senate, says he is pleasantly surprised by the amount of bipartisanship shown. Everything's looking great. A vote comes around. I believe it was, I can't quite remember off the top of my head, Saturday or Sunday. But before the vote, Nancy Pelosi returns from her week-long nap and says, "Oh, we don't much like this bill," and it dies. Or at the very least, gets stopped. I believe one senator from West Virginia said that this bill is too much geared towards corporations and Wall Street, and not enough to rural America and workers. Do you not understand that is the point of this bill? This bill is not to help out average people by the whole. It is keep American businesses from closing. To keep the American economy running. That's why you call it a stimulus package. And now the sticking point is these checks. Everyone, $1,200, yeah, that's not enough. That's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The point of the checks is not to help Americans while they're laid off. That's why, that's the point of sick leave and unemployment. Sick leave from the previous $100 billion bill that Republicans didn't like much, but guess what? It was needed, so we passed it. The point of these $1,200 checks is so that Americans will have disposable income. Their monthly, weekly income needs, or whatever you want to call it, is covered by this paid sick leave and this unemployment. The checks are to give us disposable income, so we'll want to buy things. So we can stimulate the economy. But no, this is not acceptable to Democrats. It was fine before until Nancy Pelosi showed up. Then suddenly it's unacceptable. $500 billion slush fund. It's not a slush fund. That's a complete myth. A myth made up by Pelosi so that they can mask it to Democratic supporters that It makes them look like they're resisting, a nefarious plot, when in essence they're actually just blockading a bill that would help the American economy. For some reason, on Twitter, there is not a hashtag the Second Great Recession. There should be, because we are currently in the middle of the Second Great Recession. Now, another interesting thing to note is in the Great Recession of 2008, in that time that it took the stock market to get cut in half from 14,000 to below 7,000, that took 6 months, from I believe October until March of 2009. The Dow Jones has fallen from 29,551 points to 18,316 currently in 6 weeks. And Democrats want to sit there and cry and moan and bawl over some small provisions in this bill. And then, to further waste time and complicate things, they go over to the House and they create their own fucking bill. This is unbelievable. When the country needs them the most, when the country needs both sides to lay the partisan bullshit aside and come together and pass something that will save this country from the next Great Recession and the next Great Depression after that, Democrats want to continue to do their little song and dances. Fucking enough. Pass the damn bill. Help America. Do your fucking jobs! Before there's not a country left to fucking save. During the Great Depression, a quarter of American workers did not have a job. They were on unemployment. At the time, obviously, our population was smaller. Which makes sense. So a quarter of the workforce was 15 million people. Well, according to USDebtClock.org, at this very moment, there are 11,500,000 unemployed Americans. Actual unemployed, not official unemployed. Actual unemployed Americans is at 11.5 million. That's only 3.5 million off from the 15 million that were unemployed during the Great Depression. And if Senate Democrats don't get their heads out of their asses, if Congress doesn't quit the bullshit, there will be a second Great Depression. Right now, there are about 330 million Americans. A workforce is 158 million. Pretty much 160 million. Can you imagine what would happen if unemployment numbers, not percentages, numbers, quadrupled? Which they would. Now, I don't claim to be a smart man. I really don't. I don't claim to be, super smart. I don't claim to know everything. But when I sit here and I look at the Dow Jones, and I just see, that sickens me. Now, the fun thing is that at 11:45 today, the Jones was at 18,239. At 1:15, it was at 19,053 points. Around the time that we were supposed to vote. And then the Democrats blocked the bill again. Guess what? Right now, 18,276. All the gains that it made today are gone. Because everyone is terrified that businesses are just going to keep closing, the economy is going to keep falling. All because Democrats can't get their heads out of their damn asses and pass a bill. And all of this is because of Nancy Pelosi. Because everything was fine when she wasn't there. Everything was fine. And you can't say it wasn't, because even Chuck Schumer himself, he said he was so surprised at how well everyone was working together. And then Nancy Pelosi comes and suddenly everything's a problem. Or to put it another way, before Nancy Pelosi. Oh yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised at the amount of bipartisan, work that we're doing after Nancy Pelosi. Oh yeah, this is a totally Republican bill. It's totally unacceptable. Yeah, and Democrats had no say in it. And yes, I am a Trump supporter. This is why. Now my job won't be overly affected by all of this. I own no stocks. I'm too poor to own stocks. And if I'm not mistaken, now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not very good with, some of this legal stuff. But what I was able to work out is that if the bill had just passed, I wouldn't get the full $1,200. I would have got probably $600, $700, maybe $750. But I don't care. I don't. Because it doesn't matter how much money I have if money's worthless. What has happened to this country? In the middle of this great crisis. Now, personally, I don't think we need to treat it as a crisis. Yeah, it's more lethal than the average flu. Okay, but we're not talking Spanish flu levels here. Which, by the way, the Spanish flu was H1N1. You know that thing from back in 2009 that infected like 1.3 billion people and killed 575,000? The Spanish flu infected, a third of the world's population, I believe? 500 million people? And it killed 50 million? That's a 10% mortality rate. But yeah, in all my time of looking around about history, I don't see I don't see all of this panic happening. Maybe because we were tougher back then. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not saying the virus is not serious. That is not the point of what I'm saying. I'm taking it seriously because my uncle has COPD, and if I get it, and I give it to my brother, who goes over to his house and gives it to him, he's probably going to die. And that is not what we need right now, because my grandmother passed last August, and if my uncle passed, my mom would be devastated. So I'm taking this virus seriously, but it does not appear that Senate Democrats are. Pass the damn bill. Do your jobs. Save this country before we all end up on fucking soup lines in the unemployment list. Because if we don't get our heads out of our asses, that's where we're going to be. Like I said, I deliver newspapers. I make $5,500 a year, I think. My industry's not going to be all that badly hit. My mother's a healthcare worker. She probably won't be all that badly hit. But I don't want to go into a store and have to pay $5 for a loaf of bread because the economy has gone completely belly up. Because there's a second Great Depression. Because we were so indecisive when it came time to pass a $2 trillion stimulus bill. Yes, the bill is geared towards companies and corporations. That's the point of the bill. The point of the bill is to save the economy. But no, apparently that doesn't matter. And no, I do not have the coronavirus. I have some sinus problems that started long before the virus became such a major deal. I'm finally getting over them. But I don't think the stress from watching the stock market fall, while Senate Democrats are sitting here bitching and crying about something that they were fine with until Nancy Pelosi showed up, I don't think that stress is helping me very much. I know I'm dragging this video on. But I'll just say it again. Just remember, if we all end up on soup lines in the Second Great Depression, remember, it was not Republicans that put us there. It was Democrats. In 2008, when the Obama stimulus bill, which was being started before he even took office, when that stimulus bill was being wrote, we Republicans, we fucked up. I'll admit it. I don't care. We straight up fucked up. In the House, every single Republican voted against it, with one of them not even voting at all. And then in the Senate, all but 3 of us voted against it. And yet that stimulus bill helped the American economy and ensured that we could eventually see the numbers that we did. One last thing. Right at this moment, the U.S. GDP is at $21,681,696,000,000. Last night at about 9:45, it was at $21,683,036,000,000. When I took that and I looked at it 15 minutes later, in 15 minutes, the GDP had fallen $20 million. That is $1.3 million every minute that the U.S. is losing its GDP. Meanwhile, China, which has had 81,000 cases, has mostly gotten over the virus. There's only, I think, about 5,000 active cases left there in China. There's no cure. They've got over it. China's back up and running. And China's not that far off from the United States. If we don't get our heads out of our asses, stop the bickering and the arguing and the bullshit, and pass this damn stimulus package and save the American economy, America will no longer be the most economically powerful country in the world. China will be. Just remember that. A dictatorship will be more economically powerful than the greatest democracy the world has ever seen. I only pray that I don't have to see what my great-grandparents did in the 1930s. Have to live through what they did. But it seems like every couple of hours, I just hear more and more stuff that it seems like we're going to be there. We will be in the hashtag the Second Great Recession, and then later on in the hashtag Second Great Depression. All because Senate Democrats, they apparently just gotta follow Pelosi wherever she goes, and she hates Americans. She can say she likes them, but if she liked them, then she wouldn't have made such a fuss over this bill. Even if this is a slush fund, you can deal with that later. Let them have their damn slush fund. So long as they stay open and the American economy stops dying. And yes, I know this video has gone on for a really long time and I've just rambled on repeating the same things. But I needed to make this video because my blood pressures are through the fucking roof. Just remember, Republicans fucked up in 2008. Now we're trying to make sure we don't make that same mistake, and now the Senate Democrats are the ones that are fucking up. They're the ones that are vetoing this bill. Do your jobs and help this country before there's not a country left to help. You're concerned about, American workers and, people in the rural parts of the United States? Pass the bill and make sure I don't end up on a goddamn soup line.